the backbone of America.
Jim, thank you for making it out to the interview. I appreciate your time. Extremely successful. I'm really happy that, you're probably the first guy I've ever interviewed that has been working for a Fortune 500 companies, but obviously they're not easy to find, and they're only getting bigger. The markets have just gotten so, man, they're not bloated, but they're just, what used to be a lot of revenue today or back in the days is nothing today, with all the inflation we've seen and everything. But let me start with an easy question here. You're the youngest of 6 children, right? How early were you convinced absolutely sure that one day you would be, running 2 Fortune 500 companies?
I still don't. I think it was like maybe yesterday that it sort of sunk in. No,
Really?
I did not. I did not grow up thinking I was going to be a corporate CEO, much less a Fortune 500 CEO, much less much less be an author, fly airplanes. I had no idea I could do all this stuff.
Out of all the things you've accomplished, which are you the most surprised about it? Is it the CEO, or is it that you're a pilot? Is that you wrote a book? I mean, which would you say you never thought you would do?
I don't know. Probably all of the above. Literally, I didn't have any idea what was possible out there. When you grow up in a small town, your worldview is very tiny, and you don't really think. I'd look up in the sky and see airplanes. I'd watch astronauts on TV and think, "Wow, man, that would be great." But it seemed so far out of reach that I didn't, truly aspire to do those things. But I did. What I did do is turn to learning, because I figured out at a pretty early age that the more I learned, the more I could do. Turned out to be very
That
good.
makes sense. Yeah, I love all the posts that you put up about knowledge is power, and absolutely, education is where it's at. People think, I see a lot of people that think that it's still a lot of connections, and those things help, but ultimately, if you don't have the capacity to run things and to do things on your own, people will see through it,
No,
they don't care if you're related to someone important,
Yeah, it's that old expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that is,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's absolute bull, because really what it comes down to is what you know leads to who you know.
Yeah, agreed. There's an old proverb that I like. I don't know. I big follower of the Bible, but it says, do you know a man that is good at what he does, like skillful at his trade? He will stand before kings. And ultimately, anyone that is influential or wealthy, they want to be surrounded by the best.
Yeah.
Not by people, friends of friends. Like they really want to be, if they're aimed at accomplishing something, they need the best around them,
That's true.
So anyways, let me get to my second one here. Which habit or trait of your personality do you credit the most to your success?
Persistence.
Yeah. That's where it's at. So you're a big fan of what's that Thomas Edison quote? It's 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration.
Yeah, I got another quote for you. I'll show you here. It's kind of a cool one. I keep it on my desk. It's look at this. You can tell I made this in high school. It's got the old-fashioned beer tab as the hanger on it, right? But this quote comes from Calvin Coolidge. And I literally took it off the wall of a McDonald's I was working at in high school. And
who's Calvin Coolidge? I have a friend that has that last name, and it's tied to a president.
Former president from many years ago.
Yeah.
You're too young to remember. I don't remember even. He's before my time, but
Calvin Coolidge, I never would have known him unless my friend had the same last name, and he told me that somehow, some way, he was related to the president. So I thought that was interesting that it came together.
Well, Coolidge had this amazing quote, and basically it says, "Press on. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence." And it has literally been on my desk. As you can see, I just had to reach over here and pull it off a stand. But that plaque I made in high school And I've had it on my desk in every job, every desk, every office I've had through my whole career. And it really does come down to, a lot of other things. It comes down to dealing with change, having confidence, having clarity. But at the end of the day, it's persistence that will allow you to break through,
Got it.
especially for an
Okay.
entrepreneur. Because I know you
Yeah, that's
focus
not
on
the first time I've heard of that.
entrepreneurship.
A lot of people obviously believe in that.
Yeah,
So let me tell you a problem that I have that maybe you could help me with.
sure.
So we're a private credit firm down here in Miami. We're a very small company, only about $65 million in assets, and we make good money. We make between 15 and 20%, right? So my question for you, being, with your background is, I'm constantly trying to get important people on the phone so that I can work with them, because or get them to invest in our company, or just see what we can do together. The guys that are easy are the guys that are small. They have small amounts of money and they're moving small, tiny businesses. But you realize that to really do something big, you have to convince a whole lot of them. And the one thing we don't have, every person on this earth doesn't have, is more time.
True.
So my question here is this: um, how do you get the attention of CEOs, very important people, in a way that's not, I guess, annoying for them, or they just kind of are put off by it? What do you think is the best approach? If you were young again, how would you do it?
I think I would. I think the key is not to be selling anything. I've always approached sales from the perspective of I don't want to try to have to sell you. That's push. And too often we push. Like you said, how do I call somebody and tell them why they need to do this? That's push. Pull is when your product or service is so good that you're doing them a favor by giving them an opportunity to participate in it. See the difference?
Agreed.
It's a
Yeah,
huge
yeah, of
difference.
course.
But now
Now,
that,
the marketing, I guess you'd have to do some pretty good marketing for people to be drawn by the product or service.
yeah, and it's not just marketing, it's truly being able to differentiate your product or service. So it's not just fluff. It's not just like, hey, I got better people or I got better, charts or I got whatever it is. But really being able to capture the imagination of that person to be able to say, wait, I really do need that. I want that. That's
Got it.
pull. That's classic pull. You want an example? I'll give you a great example. 7-Eleven selling coffee for years, right? And I was like, well, this company called Starbucks comes along, and I'm like, people aren't going to pay $4 for a cup of coffee. They can buy it at 7-Eleven for 99 cents. What the hell? These guys are
Right.
dead. It'll never work. They never put out one TV commercial, probably for the first, I don't even know if they advertise today. So everybody's saying, hey, you got to advertise to get sales. They did it classic, like I said, pull approach. They made a product, and not just a product, they made an experience that was so good that they didn't even have to advertise it. They just put up a store, and through word of mouth, people would tell other people, you got to try
Grassroots.
it. You got to come, right? And that may be easier because it's a consumer product and you go, oh, okay, well, yeah, they had good coffee. But in the services business, like you're in, too often we forget that you still have to differentiate in that same way. You have to be able to have your service be so far head and shoulders above anybody else's service that's why people want to come.
Got it. Okay. So is there a way to differentiate a financial, specifically private credit, outside of assets that you finance? I don't know any way that's creative. And individuals are always looking for the, I guess, risk reward.
Yeah, but again, that's where the creativity comes in. That's why creativity is hard.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
If it was
that's
easy, everyone would be doing it.
and everybody would be doing it. Yeah, and you'd be doing the same thing. But there's always an opportunity to find a unique angle. And I don't know what it is. And it may be price, it may be Sometimes price, that's the lowest common denominator. Just give them a better,
Yeah.
interest rate or something like that. But it might be service. I mean, it might be, hey, if you use our credit service, we're going to do your taxes for you for free. I don't know. But there may be an angle there that
Yeah.
makes
Well,
your service much better.
we've gone as far as finding customers, we found a niche that nobody wants to do, so we
Yeah.
really don't have an issue with clients. It's capital, investors, what's been the difficult part.
Yeah.
Surprise, it's a good problem to have, because you have tons of demand. All you have to do is now find the product, so anyways, enough about that. I don't want that to be about the interview to be about that. Let me get to my next question. Tell me what you're working on these days, whether it's professional or maybe not business related.
Well, on the business side, I'm doing a lot of entrepreneurial things. I'm doing mostly startups in the aerospace or the space arena. I'm working with
Okay.
a couple of space startup companies, an aerospace startup company, doing vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Um, those are kind of fun things. On the social side, having put out a book a year ago, you know about my book, right?
Yeah.
So Education is Freedom. I put this book out and I've been all over the world talking about the transformative power of education. And in the course of talking about it, all of a sudden a new administration comes in and I find myself in an environment where both sides of the aisle are kind of critical about education. They're saying, I don't know if college is important anymore. Maybe we should just encourage people to go out and, get vocations and all that stuff. And I'm sitting here with a very different perspective because, see, running a couple of Fortune 500 companies, I recognized as much as 20 years ago that we're falling behind the rest of the world in producing an educated workforce.
Right.
If you wonder why so many first generation Americans are in 7-Eleven stores, we were hiring people with degrees from Pakistan or India, or encouraging them to come in and be franchisees. And I'll give you some scary statistics. China right now, last year graduated 20 million individuals from college. India, 15 million. The United States, less than 4. So
Wow.
if you do the math, in 10 years, that'll be, if they don't grow, and they're actually growing the number of college graduates while we're shrinking,
Right.
that's 250 million college graduates entering the workforce globally from those two countries in the next 10 years. And in the same period of time, we're going to have 30 million, maybe, because we're actually declining in our number of graduates. So who is going to fill
Yeah. How are we gonna win?
how are we going to win? Who's going to fill these jobs, right? Are
Yeah.
they going to stay in China, or are they going to come to the United States and become, some of our top engineers, some of our scientists, et cetera? Are they going to stay in India, or are they going to come here? I think you're going to find that the opportunities are going to be here because we're not producing enough educated employees to take these high technology,
Yeah.
top CEO jobs. So net of all of that is I am petitioning the administration to not eliminate the Department of Education, but instead reinvent it. And even if they
Yeah.
eliminate the department as we know it, what I'm encouraging is the use of technology to transform education, just as we've transformed retail, media, space, everything else with technology.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what it is. I mean, no one's pushing for less education. I mean, no one smart is at least. But I think a lot of people are looking for reform. There's been a lot of people that have been upset that they've gotten these 4-year degrees, paid, their debt of school debt has ballooned to 200,000, and they're sitting on a psychology degree or a historian degree or a musical degree, and they're just not paying what it takes to pay these debts back,
Yeah.
and that's why people want their debts forgiven. I mean, but the what's it called, the stems, which are really the ones that pay really well. um I think most people, I mean, they're not really complaining about that. They've done really well. But then the trades are also down. There's a lot of people like you mentioned, the vocational schools. There's not enough plumbers. There's not enough electricians. We need more people like engineers. Just down to earth guys, not really theoretical guys. What would
Right.
you do? I mean, what would be your plan if you were in charge?
Yeah, I literally went to the Department of Education, and I'm proposing a very different approach to the way we teach and learn. See, our current education system was built 100 years ago, and we're still teaching
Right.
with books and blackboards. And it was built by the industrialists, Rockefellers, etc., to basically mass produce an educated workforce for the industrial age. And so everything about our current education system is standardized. We have a bell curve, right? We have a very standard approach to how you learn and what you learn. And what I'm proposing is that technology today, if you use the example of machine learning,
Okay.
machine learning can change the way it's delivering content so rapidly because it can determine the way you're absorbing it. It can even measure your attention span, your focus on the material if you're learning online, and change the way it's delivering content based on your ability to absorb that content.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
so I guess investment into the infrastructure, but the question is, where do you cut? I mean, it's not that there's not enough capital being invested. I mean, it's already very expensive for
yeah,
universities. Where do you cut?
well, there are plenty of places that you can get greater efficiencies, and I'll give you a classic example. Today we have 13,000 school districts all over the country. Everyone has their own independent RFP process, buying process. They're picking their own software if they have software. They're buying their own equipment, etc. If this was the corporate world, you'd roll that shit up. You'd roll up
I mean,
13,000 and you'd have one,
you save a ton of
operating,
money.
right? And so
Yeah,
it's grossly inefficient the way we're doing it. And what it is a fear of federalization. So it's like, oh, no,
yeah.
no, I can't let the government tell me what to
You don't
do.
want to
Yeah,
centralize.
but you can centralize the buying of materials. You can centralize the efficiencies of the system and still be effective, more effective even locally. I'll give you a great example. The American Red Cross, it had 1,000 independent chapters, fiercely independent. And then
Okay.
Katrina came in, and people said, oh, I got to give to Katrina. I have to give to these victims. So they wrote checks to the Red Cross. $3 billion comes in, and there was no standardized chart of accounts. No one knew where the money was, where it went, where it was going, how to even account for it. It was chaos. And it was a wake-up call to say, in today's world, we can't have the luxury anymore of having 1,000 independent chapters out there doing their own thing. We have to
Yeah,
have a centralized system and a decentralized execution. And that's what we needed for schools, a centralized repository of data. So imagine a kid today, if you went to school in Miami, or if your kids went to school in Miami and then you moved to Dallas, they have to physically hand carry their transcripts to Dallas and pray that someone in Dallas keys them in accurately.
oh, it's terrible.
It's nuts. And we're not, and this is a mobile society. So we're not keeping track of transcripts, of results, of grades, credentials.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is cured in a centralized
Yeah, yeah,
operating
and a lot of
system.
fraud also exists because of that. I mean, I had a lot of friends from South America that will send their
Exactly.
transcripts, but nothing's connected. And
And
yeah,
they
yeah, I
quit
agree.
and they give up and they bail out of the system, right? Too often.
Yeah.
So
Well, listen, I don't know
it's
much about this
infinitely quicker.
subject, but I heard that supposedly we're going from like the federal government is giving back the states the education system, but I think that's K through 12, right?
Yeah, yeah. And look, if the states could fix it, they would have by now,
Right.
right? So
Yeah, yeah. Probably went to the government for a reason, not to the central.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. So, we were talking about differentiating again. So I was I was trying to carry this message to the federal government saying, "Hey guys, you need to centralize," and I wasn't getting a lot of traction for it. Um, so I said, "All right, I got to repackage it. I have to differentiate my argument, right? I'm an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
I'm selling."
Yeah, everything. Another thing about everything is not selling, but everything is ideas. You know, if you can't, if one doesn't get any traction, you gotta repackage it.
Exactly. So I repackaged it. Instead of saying don't eliminate the Department of Education, I went in with
Wow, great
make
education.
education great again.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a mega idea.
yeah, yeah.
and
Agreed.
and it's working. And so far I've been getting a little traction. So we'll see. We'll see. But I do believe I am on a mission to try to transform education through the power of technology. It's available. There's zero excuse for us to have anything but 100% literacy by the third grade in America. It's possible. We just need to get serious and do it.
I agree. Let me move on here. So one thing I've realized in my career that people management and psychology is very important. You have to get people to agree with you, to kind of collaborate with you. I mean, how important do you think this is? And do you have any tricks that you've used during your career to not become confrontational with somebody when they disagree with you, or how do you get them to like you and agree with you?
Well, I mean, there's a good idea, right? No, it's a great example of it
Well, let me tell you,
because
wearing that hat will not make you likable in some circles.
no, that's not going to
Not
make
a lot
everybody
like
like you.
fans out there. The country's kind of divided a bit.
No, it's
Uh,
divided, but you
but
think about it.
education, right? If you focus on education, everyone's on board.
Well, but not everyone's on board, and this is the trick. So I'm in there saying, don't eliminate the Department of Education, and I'm getting
Okay.
nowhere because they've already made that decision. But when I walk in with a hat that says "Make Education Great Again," who's going to argue with that? And it's
Yeah. Well, and yeah, in
consistent
this administration, of course,
in this
I see what you're saying.
administration. Exactly. So now, can I wear that hat out and get everybody on board? No. But right now, my mission is to get this administration comfortable with the idea that there is a better way. There's a solution. And so again, marketing, you gotta, I can go in and fight against what's going on, or I can find a way to convince those in power that there's a different way. And so
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to do. But I can't go in with daggers. I've got to go in with something that feels like it's a win-win.
Yeah. Agreed. Got it. All right. Let's talk a little bit about investments. I don't know if you consider yourself a good investor. I know definitely the good manager. But assuming you were in my world of either private credit or just general investments, and you had $5 million to invest into
Yeah.
a business, let's say, not real estate or anything like that, what type of business today provides a great risk reward? I know you mentioned you're in the aerospace industry, so I imagine that's where we're headed. But is there any particular examples that are just like no brainers as of today?
I think in today's environment, um, I would be looking at innovations in the use of AI because people today, I'll give you an example. I bet you sat around and said, I know I did. Why didn't I invent Facebook? I mean, how hard could that be? We had a Facebook. We literally called it in college, right? They had a little book with everybody's
Uh-huh.
background in it and stuff. And we used to call it the Facebook because everybody's faces were in it. It's like, hey, who are the cute girls in class, right?
Yeah,
Who are
yeah, I
the
remember
really,
that.
yeah. And so Zuckerberg was just smart enough to say, hey, let's put this online. That we've got a
Well,
new
he wasn't the
environment.
first one to do it. There was a
No,
couple failures before that.
yeah,
But he's the first
Archway.
guy that made it very popular.
Oh yeah, exactly. But so the internet, if you think about it, spawned entirely new industries. I like to use the example. If I told you 20 years ago, you're going to get on your phone and you're going to call a stranger to come pick you up in their car at 2 a.m. and take you across town, you'd be like, I would never in a million years do that. I'm not going to get in some stranger's car at 2 a.m. and go across town. No. And yet here we are. Another one. I'm gonna, I'm gonna, you're gonna, you're gonna travel to a new city and stay in some strange person's house. Airbnb, right? Uber. So here's entirely new industries and companies that were spawned from the internet that we could not in a million years have sat around and dreamed up. Or
No.
even if we did, we would have denied that anyone would use this service. So my challenge there is, what's AI going to do? We're sitting around going, oh, it's going to create machines that'll kill us. I think it's going to create a jillion new opportunities that no one has yet envisioned. And if I had $5 million right now to spend, I would be thinking about what is AI going to create, or what can I create using AI that will be an entirely new opportunity that people don't even know exists yet.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Is there anything in the aerospace that is kind of the, Airbnb or the Uber of
Oh
AI
yeah.
in aerospace? I don't know of any.
Oh no. Aerospace, are a ton of them because autonomous aircraft are coming.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's with what's this guy? What's this funny guy that wears the jackets like the Hawaiian shirts, and his company just went public not long ago.
Which one? Beta? There are a couple of
Ah,
them that have gone
no,
public.
he's
Yeah.
a really funny. He's got like a mullet. He's got a defense company, and he's doing autonomous aircrafts.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Ah,
No, it's
it'll come
coming.
to me.
It's coming. Aircraft today, as you know, I fly, and the jet that I fly, the next generation will come with auto throttles and an auto land feature on the jet. In
No.
other words, uh, today I can fly single pilot, but if I've got passengers, I take a co-pilot to make them comfortable. But in the next generation of my aircraft that I'm flying today, there's going to be a button right on the panel that says push me for automatic landing. It says auto land. And that aircraft will call ATC, declare an emergency, find the nearest airport, descend, land, and stop on the runway safely with
Mm.
no pilot intervention. That's
Does that already exist on the commercial, like the large aircrafts, or no?
No, it doesn't. On large aircraft, it doesn't yet. And the problem is well, it's close to being able to. No commercial airliner has done it, but it does exist today on some small single engine aircraft. So the
Oh,
technology
wonderful.
is there. It's just a matter of deploying it. But my point is, that's an indication that we're very, very close to full autonomy in aviation. And one could argue that it might ultimately be safer than relying on pilots, even though I'm a pilot myself. Um,
Yeah,
it's kind of like autonomous cars. The argument is, well, a
drivers.
Waymo's not going to be sitting there on his phone, distracted by
Yeah.
text messaging. You know?
Well, look, now that we're talking about aviation, I had a prior experience a weekend ago. I was in North Carolina in Bald Head Island, little island off Wilmington, and I spent 3 days there looking for with a client looking for some development. And out of the 3 days there, we took a private plane from Wilmington to Bald Head Island. And when I told the gentleman, like, hey, what's the expense of the aircraft? He told me that we had spent more money in that 45-minute flight than basically all weekend in hotels, food. And I said, wow, private aviation is still very expensive.
It is.
I wonder why technology hasn't really caught up in that field in particular to make it as cheap as, commercial travel is incredibly cheap. I mean, I think
Mhm.
a flight today costs less than a flight 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And fuel is way more expensive. Pilots are making way more money. Aircrafts are way more, but the flights are less. Why? I guess because of the efficiencies. But private aviation is one that I think is due for some kind of um, I don't know. I guess overhaul. To make it more affordable. Even owning a jet is incredibly expensive. That's why most people have to charter it, like running as a business almost, while they have it as a personal, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it is. There are some breakthroughs that can make it much less expensive. I think uh, a lot of the new technologies, a lot of battery technology coming that for short haul travel will be practical and avoid the cost of jet fuel, which is so expensive. A lot of aviation cost is wrapped up in liability risk, unfortunately. Whenever there's a crash, insurance rates go up and um, it gets very expensive. So it will happen over time. I think it will
Hmm.
take if you it will take big breakthroughs in aircraft design, propulsion, etc. before we see those costs really come down.
Yeah. Well, one of them would be the pilot. That's a big expense, no doubt. Let me ask you something. I mean, you have your own plane. When you fly somewhere, do you always fly yourself or do you have a pilot?
No, I fly myself often, especially if it's just me or family in the aircraft. I'll be very comfortable in just flying myself wherever I'm going to go. But if I have passengers, a lot of times I'll bring the co-pilot just for their comfort because
Sure, sure.
people panic. They're like, "Oh my gosh, what happens if something happens to the pilot?" Um, or they look at me and go, "I'm not flying with you. You crazy?"
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
But I
Let me
also
ask you,
I also take
what,
a take a co-pilot if I've got weather or things I have to someplace I have to be in case weather pops up, um, just for safety purposes.
understood, understood. Okay. Let me ask you about this type of investment, commercial REITs today, particularly in the office space.
Yeah,
Uh, how do you feel about them? I mean, they're in the gutter right now. I'm usually kind of you know what they say, the old adage, when people are running for the hills and everyone's selling, that's when you should be buying.
yeah.
And that when everyone's buying, you should kind of be selling. But do you think now's the time, or do you think it's a bad idea? Or are we coming back to the office? Or are we not?
Tough call. It's a really tough call. I've got a lot of friends in the real estate business, and I've had this conversation with them. Um, I'll give you the two sides of the coin. One is I'm an old school operating guy who thinks that while yes, you can be efficient with virtual meetings. Um, Nothing replaces that face to face capability in an office environment and the ability to collaborate and learn from each other. So I think we cycled out of physical presence during COVID, but I do see that physical need for physical face to face coming back. And I think we'll settle out somewhere in between, but more heavily reliant on the personal interaction than on um, on the virtual meetings. Now, virtual meetings, I think, will be more relevant for avoidance of travel. Think about it. We all jumped on aircraft and we flew halfway across the country for a 30-minute meeting in the past that could much more
Yeah.
practically be done today virtually. Um, so, what does that mean for the real estate world? I think there's going to be probably continued short-term pressure on office space, commercial office space. Um, if I was building today, I would be looking at more multi-purpose construction. And I've talked to a lot of my real estate friends and said, why aren't you building commercial buildings that could easily be converted into residential? Because I do see residential demand continuing to increase. And
Yeah.
I'm being told, well, the floor plans don't work out and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not sure we're not stuck in an old definition of what commercial office space needs to be.
Yeah.
So I would, if I was building, be looking at being able to pivot, flexibility, commercial that could evolve into residential if commercial needs became less, or multi-use. I don't see a lot of development where we are building campuses that could house both residential and workspace. combined. Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Again, I think in my book, I've captured a concept called change equals opportunity. And by coincidence, the acronym is CEO, right? And
That's
I
funny.
and I think that applies to real estate. I think change does equal opportunity. Most of the people that made great money in real estate were being contrarians, right? Um, but I think the difference is the ability to be creative and to pivot in your real estate investing. And I think that's the opportunity that's at hand as we see these huge shifts between commercial and residential. How can you pivot?
Yeah. I've heard some guys tell me that the commercial space for just office might be a little dead, but there's a kind of a revival of commercial office space that has amenities.
Yeah,
So, people they want to have a gym, they want
yeah,
to have a coffee area or a bar, or whatever, all kinds of amenities that historically have not been available, in office space. And that's what differentiates between, being at their house, which they can have a workspace, but they can't have a gym, they can't have a bar, they can't have an area to lounge and network, and whatever, all these other things. And that's really what a lot of people want.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
so maybe they can repurpose a certain, I guess that would be a lot easier, right? To repurpose a couple floors in an office building to say we're going to add amenities, whether a pool or whatever.
Yeah, add amenities, and I mean, think about the SpaceX um, kind of work environment. I mean, Elon Musk drags a futon into the office and sleeps there, right?
Yeah.
So w- why wouldn't we build office space that's more akin to residential with sleeping quarters, and more bathroom capability? So if you really did want to turn your office into a part-time, I'm going to live here for 3 weeks. In the tech world, that's kind of normal. They're working
Right.
24/7. But
Yeah,
no one
yeah. My
ever,
brother was actually telling me he wanted a shower in our office. And
well,
I said,
yeah.
why? Because I want to go to the gym in the middle of the day. I need a place to shower. I don't want to come back all sweaty to my office.
So there's a great example. But most real estate developers don't think that way. They're thinking, oh, no, no, I can't pay for that extra plumbing. But maybe that differentiates your office space from somebody else because every office has got a small shower.
Yeah, I agreed. Agreed. So look, you're in a different stage in life than I am. Tell me about what you do with your personal capital. I mean, are you mostly in this kind of venture capital for the aerospace companies, or do you kind of play it safe? I mean, what's your investment style?
Uh, you know, I scattered around a little bit. I do a little bit of venture, but not a lot because, um, let's face it, the record of startups is not great. It's
Yeah, frisky.
um, and so I've invested more with friends who I trust because I know that they're in the venture space or the PE space, and I'll invest with them. But honestly, a lot of my investment, um, and of course, then I've got a section with a wealth management company, and they're doing their thing. But I trade a lot of equities, and do a lot of options investing because um, kind of a business junkie, so I'm always staying up on what's new. So, for example, I was an early investor in NVIDIA, caught them, when they were still kind of coming up um, as a chip company, but I had a lot of belief in AI and I saw them at the forefront of chip development for AI. And so I invested.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a lot of good stories these days. At least a lot of companies have done very, very well.
Yeah.
Uh, Even though
I,
some have been held back, it's a strange world out there. If it is for me, I can also imagine for you. Like there's a lot of swing trading, a lot of populist trading. When one stock is doing good, it's doing outrageously good, and then when one like industry falls out of people don't like it so much, it plummets like like people are just like moving their money around like way more than they used to back in the days.
oh, no, I know.
And nobody's that big of a fan of just leaving it in an index, like because it's not exciting. It's
Yeah.
people are reading the news. It's sexy now to invest and to trade, and they like to do that. I don't know if it's good for society, but I imagine so. that people are just constantly trading on news and less on financials and things like that. What do you think about that?
I'm struggling with it. I wish that meme stocks were around during my blockbuster days because
Man,
I got caught up in the financial crisis in 2008, and investors back then were more traditional and feared the potential risk of bankruptcy, so they slammed the stock. And then in contrast, I look at GameStop today, and I think, wait a minute, where were the kids watching Reddit when Blockbuster was around? you
yeah,
know
yeah.
that would have been sweet to be able to have that kind of following in spite of the financial collapse of 2008. That would have
Right.
been nice.
Well, again, if you were on the side of you own the stock, but imagine if you're one of those companies that were shorting it.
Oh, I know. Well,
I find it
I was getting shorted at Blockbuster back in the day, so I know
oh
that was
man,
tough.
I got to tell you, those guys have a story to tell. Like basically, some kids put them out of business, and like with no financial sense, just basically saying we're gonna stick it to these guys and we're gonna risk
Yeah.
everything.
Oh, I
There's a
know.
movie about it that I saw, and I find that like yeah, that's a very interesting story, honestly.
Oh, it's scary. But then you also look at something like I could have bought Bitcoin when I first started looking at it, and I was intrigued because I always thought an alternative form of currency was brilliant, and that we had to have digital currency. So I looked at investing at Bitcoin when it was like $1,000 a coin, and I thought, you know, it's too risky. There's no basis to it. We don't even know who
Yeah.
invented it. It's some mysterious person, right? And I thought, nah, $1,000 a coin. I can't invest in that. And what is it now? 120 or something?
Yeah, I got my own story there. I bought it at 9,000. I heard about it at 2,500, a little bit after you. But in
Yeah.
those days, it was moving up so fast that it could have been a month apart, you know?
Oh yeah.
I bought it at nine. I sold it at, I'm sorry, it went up to 18. I thought I was the smartest guy in the world by doubling my money. I had $500,000 in it at the time. And then the price plummeted from, 18, 17, 12. When it hit nine, I sold everything. And it went down to 2,500.
Yeah.
And I never bought it back again. And my reasoning was more that I couldn't. I'm a very nervous guy, so I can't. I was checking it at 3 a.m. in the morning in the Chinese markets and reading the news, and I said, "This isn't life." Like I can't live like this.
Yeah.
But it is a regret today, obviously, at $120,000 would I have kept my half a million, that I had at nine. But maybe it's giving me it's made me sleep a lot better, actually.
Yeah. I know. I know.
So
Well, you look at somebody like Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger and those guys, you know, maybe that's because they were too old school, but their logic of, wait a minute, you can buy $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, or you can buy $100,000 piece of land, and the land is, there's always going to be something you can do with that. It's tangible, it's real, and
yeah.
and it's never going to go to zero. But
No, but I see their logic.
yeah,
Like because I see the logic. But again, in the world when the majority of people are optimistic and you're the weirdo,
yeah,
unfortunately, we'll see what happens in 20 years. But for the most part, I mean, it's here to stay. There's no doubt. But I understand their logic. I mean, I remember Warren Buffett once saying, at the end of the day, if I'm buying this, it's because I have to sell it to somebody else.
yeah,
You know, and that guy has to be convinced that when he buys it, he'll be able to sell it to the next guy. But
yeah,
when that guy is no longer convinced that happened, the whole trend reverses, and it goes in the opposite direction.
yeah,
And what is the utility of it? Like, it's just a store of value, which there is some utility, I think, in like countries like in South America where there's a lot of you can't trust the central government because of their printing, they're going nuts,
right,
or they're going to take your assets, your bank accounts. Yeah, put your money in something where nobody can touch, which there's only one thing, it's crypto. What
yep,
else could you have besides what's in here in crypto? I don't know anything else that you can keep that the government can't take from you.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I do get it, but it's gone a lot bigger than I would have ever thought.
Oh, I know. So you a buyer at 125?
No, no, I told you I'm too risk averse, and I
I
get too
know, man.
nervous.
I know.
Specifically if I have a big, big part of my portfolios in there. And I don't like that whole like put 2% of your money in Bitcoin. I like to be, I'm a little bit like Warren Buffett, where I'm like, I like to put my money somewhere and watch it a lot, not really
Yeah.
just have a lot of little investments. Listen, I'm not a great investor by any means, but I'm no Warren Buffett, but I do kind of follow a little bit of that logic, of not diversifying too much and I
Yep.
don't know. I really only do most of my portfolios in private credit and some investments, but outside of that, I really don't invest in any venture capital, which I've been pitched many times. I think it's risky, but then again, when I see those 1,000+ returns, I do get a little of what is it called? Like I'm missing out.
Oh, I
But
know. I know.
right?
I know.
I rationalize that, there was too much risk, and when I think about all the ones that I would have invested in that I didn't and they did terrible, that's how I justify, like, oh, I saved myself from that.
But if you felt bad about your $9,000 a coin going to two, imagine how you'd feel at 125,000 going to two.
Yeah, 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 I agree.
You never know.
So look, I had a question here from one of my guys. He asked me, ask Jim, if you were still running 7-Eleven today, what are some practical applications that you would be using AI for?
A couple of things. One is it's going to be, I think, a huge benefit in ordering systems, being able to go back over the last 90 days and track by item what sales were in any individual location and be able to very accurately predict what sales will be tomorrow. We're doing that today to some extent, but I think it's going to get exponentially better in the store. So that's one very practical application.
Inventory management, right? That's what you're talking about.
Inventory management, yeah. Product development, new product development and design, I think is going to be a huge benefit of AI. We're limited today by our imagination. So what new product can you make? What kind of new sandwich can you make? I don't know, ham and cheese, peanut butter and jelly. There's only so many things that we as humans can envision. But when you turn machine language loose on what's possible with the whole host of ingredients that are available all over the world, I think they're going to create new products that we don't even know exist today. That'll be pretty exciting and cool.
Okay, so like recommendations based on people's likes and
yeah, new just creation, the ability to be creative outside of the box of what human creativity can come up with, because we're somewhat limited by what we know, and what we think, as opposed to what could be. So I think that will be an application that will be pretty interesting to see.
got it, understood. All right, and here I'll hit you with my last question. In your opinion, I mean, you ran Blockbuster, a company that was phased out, by technology. What industry or company today is ripe for overhaul or for like disruption? Is there anything in particular that comes to mind that you're saying like this will be the next thing to happen from, in the next 6 to 12 months?
A lot of industries. I think the probably thing that's happening right before our eyes is the transportation business with, I think Waymo will replace, Waymo kind of autonomous vehicle will replace the Uber as we know it today, because the confidence that we'll have in getting into a driverless car. Today, we're kind of edgy about it. It's like, oh my gosh, there's no driver. But would you rather get into a car with no driver once that safety record is established, or with somebody that you don't know, that maybe doesn't speak your language, etc.? I think that level of comfort with autonomous is going to completely change that industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like riding a roller coaster or getting on a commercial flight, it seems scary, but statistically, it's very safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That industry any day. I think it might be just a matter of legislation, honestly. If they would just let it all free, and I can't imagine. I mean, again, you're cutting the main expense, which is a driver, and
Yep.
most cars out there are utilized like 1 hour, 2 hours a day. So can you imagine I think it's going to decimate the car manufacturing industry actually because, um, like you don't need that many cars parked anymore, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's a scary statistic. In fact, I spoke before the a limo drivers association not long ago, and I was trying to figure out what I could say to them, um, because their industry has been hurt by Uber. I'm talking limo guys that drive
Yeah,
the
yeah, and Hoover Blacks.
fancier. Yeah. And, uh, and so they were like asking me to come in and talk about change. And I looked at a really interesting statistic, and I didn't know that this was the case, but I thought, hmm, I see fewer kids driving today. Now, when I grew up, driving was a rite of passage. 16 years old, man, I got to get my learner's permit. I got to get my license the day I turn eligible. And
The car
so
was
I
your
looked at the,
identity.
yeah, it was. So I looked at the stats, and it was shocking. In 19, let's say 75, the percentage of 18-year-olds in America getting a driver's license was it was like 90% or something, some very, very large number, probably only excluding really urban kids that didn't need one. Um, but most of us got a driver's license in 1975. 19 and in 2025, the numbers are of 18-year-olds getting a driver's license at 18 was something like 45%.
Here in the US,
Yeah, which is shocking.
50% of, so
Yeah,
what are they doing? How do they get around?
Uber. They just see no need to get a driver's license. They're just on their phone getting an Uber, and they can go out and drink and do whatever they want to do. Well, maybe not at
Yeah,
18, but they can do whatever they want to do independently. See, it used to be that the only alternative to mom picking me up was get my license. So I got to get my
yeah,
license. Today, I don't, it doesn't really matter. No big deal. I'll just take Uber. Yeah, I'll get my license when I get around to it,
yeah.
but it's not that rite of passage that we had then. So what does that translate into the the service business, like limos and like, you know, Uber and Lyft and others, or Waymo? It means that those are going to be even more dramatically affected. And what does it mean for automobile companies as they're making fewer and fewer cars for individuals and more for just fleet business, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just interesting. It's just another example. So, my message to the limo drivers is there's a wave of demand coming that you don't even see yet,
Yeah.
because if that big a percentage of our population goes without owning their own car, that means there's going to be a bigger demand for limo type services. You may need to adapt to autonomous, may need to have a point of differentiation, but there will be an increase potentially in demand for a car service down the road.
Right, right. Yeah, or even something I'm thinking about is like a mass transit system, you know?
Yep.
Um, yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I've never considered that.
Yeah. Or air mobility. This is the next other big thing I see coming, because if you think Waymo is shocking that it can drive a driverless car through busy urban streets, well, to be able to have a vertical takeoff and landing vehicle like a drone that carries 4 passengers, and it just goes up and drives at 50 feet above the highway. Now it's going to get there a lot faster than a car on the highway.
Yeah. Are you optimistic about that kind of travel, like the Jobies of the world?
Oh, yeah. No, it's coming. It's definitely coming very fast.
What do you think?
Technology is
How
improving.
far into the future are we talking?
10 years, not that far.
Is it viable today? I mean, why isn't it happening today?
It is happening. the technology is getting better and better. This is pretty dramatic new technology, but the ability to have battery powered vehicles. Why battery? Because you're not dealing with jet fuel or avgas or anything. It dramatically improves the cost, and they're not traveling far distances. They're going from one side of town to the other, and could be recharged relatively easy, and they're autonomous. They can avoid each other. It's probably a lot safer than
Yeah.
being on the highway in a car during rush hour. So it's coming.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Jim, I want to thank you for your insights. I know your time's important, so I want to just thank you again for taking the interview. I wish you the best, man. You got some good stuff going on.
Thanks, Bernard. I appreciate it. It's great to be with you, and look forward to continuing the discussion.
Excellent. God bless.
All right.
Made in America.